Ah, voilà, PM, donc 6 PM, 11. Quel enfer. 12. Oui, oui. Paramètres d'accessibilité sont accessibles depuis le menu principal. Oh, j'ai trop hâte. Découverte de ce Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe par Archiboulette. Oh là là, ça promet du méta. Ah, donc, oui, nous découvrons ensemble ce Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe avec ce menu qui rappelle ce menu, qui rappelle ce menu, qui rappelle ce menu, qui rappelle ce menu. Bref, je pense que ça va être trop bien. J'ai essayé de regarder le moins de vidéos possible, le moins de choses, le moins de trailers, le moins de trucs, de machins, de bidules. Pour le moins être spoilé possible. Donc bon, on verra. Hein. Je pense qu'il y a pas mal de choses qu'on connaît déjà du premier jeu. Si vous connaissez pas le premier jeu, je vous invite à le faire. Après, il y a des chances que ça soit beaucoup le clin d'œil, du fanservice, je ne sais pas. Est-ce que... Ouais. Ah, et puis tous les sons, hein, tous les sons, c'est des sons de clavier. J'adore. On va monter un peu le son. On va le mettre comme ça. On va monter pas mal les sons. En même temps, faut pas non plus que ce soit trop fort. Je vais les mettre à 5. 5, 2, on verra. On verra, écoutez, on verra. Bien, eh bien je vous propose de lancer tout de suite. C'est parti. Je rapproche un peu mon micro.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
La même.
And then one day,
générique.
something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ça y est. Ok. Alors, QWERTY, hop, gauche-droite, gauche-droite. On n'est pas sur un jeu photoréaliste, hein, avec un réalisme, voilà, bon, une cohérence, mais c'est pas ça le but du jeu, c'est vraiment tout ce qui se passe derrière, les choix que nous faisons. Alors moi je me rappelle que j'avais essayé à l'époque, j'aimerais bien voir si ça change, je pense que ça n'a pas changé, hein. On va juste faire ça. Je fais clic. Que je m'assois peut-être? Je peux pas activer l'ordinateur? Ah oui. Ah oui, le fait de faire action, la touche E ça fait action, et ça fait des bruits de clavier. Si je ferme la porte.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Voilà, c'est une des fins. Ok. Donc ça, c'est une des fins du jeu. Ouais, bon, allez. Voyons voir le reste.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Ça fait penser à quelque chose, tiens, juste avant. Je veux juste voir si on peut pas augmenter un tout petit peu certains trucs, ou non, c'est déjà au maximum, non? C'est déjà au maximum. Ouais, c'est déjà au maximum, très bien. Alors je me rappelle d'un truc ici, on pouvait grimper. Il y avait un truc à faire, genre je sais plus comment on faisait. Je me demande d'ailleurs si... Ah, c'était corrigé. Ou alors attendez, peut-être que c'était corrigé par vraiment comme ça. Il y avait un moyen, on pouvait passer de l'autre côté, on pouvait tomber là. Je sais plus, ça a peut-être été corrigé.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement?
Mais oui.
Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No, 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 no. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly.
Oh, je vais pas faire.
Clicks.
Je vais pas le faire, je vais pas le faire. Soyons sérieux, un petit peu de sérieux, quoi. Un petit peu de sérieux. Moi, j'ai envie d'éteindre tous les ordinateurs. Ok. Awaiting input. Ok. Merci Valfi pour ce raid. Merci à toi. J'espère que tu vas bien. Hein, tu étais sur un Final Fantasy, je crois, ou non, peut-être pas. Si. Je crois que c'est quelque chose dans ce genre. Et coucou. Ah, moi, je découvre enfin The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Pour le moment, c'est vraiment pareil. Pour le moment, c'est tout pareil. Quelque chose me dit qu'il va se passer quelque chose. Ça va, mais pas au top du coup, je te laisse. Ça marche, vas-y, pas de soucis. Écoute, je te dis à plus tard, du coup. Et prends bien soin de toi. Allez. Découvrons ce que ce jeu nous réserve. Premier choix.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Non.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
C'est marrant le fait. Les clics et les molettes, enfin les clics et les boutons action, ça fait juste des boutons de... Et juste des sons de clavier.
Room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Ça en vaut la peine. Hein. Ouais, ça vaut la peine de regarder ces tableaux, hein. Bien sûr. Bien sûr. Je continue à regarder cet endroit, c'est bien.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy.
Non.
And reflected poorly on his
Ah, je me barre,
overall
allez.
personality. But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room, and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Si je peux pas changer d'avis, genre non, finalement je reviens en arrière. Ça c'est vraiment typiquement ce genre de jeu. Hein. C'est typiquement le genre de jeu où vous allez avoir envie de tester absolument tout pour voir si le narrateur peut pas... Ah, ces bruits de clavier, ça me rend fou. Non.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone
Rien
you've
à
been
foutre.
What? Really?
Rien à foutre.
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are
Ouais.
you that convinced that I want something bad to happen
Ouais.
to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Bon, allez, on va lui obéir cette fois-ci.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now.
Merde.
Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Alors.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Ah, je connais cette fin. Je sais la fin qu'on a prise. Donc c'est pas une nouvelle fin. Hein. C'est joli. J'arrive pas à voir si à l'époque de Stanley Parable 1, est-ce que les effets étaient un peu différents peut-être. Je sais plus.
No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No! Oh, thank God you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room?
Allez, j'y retourne, pour te faire plaisir. Hein. Voilà.
There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy.
C'est une expérience de mort imminente, quoi.
If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Voilà, t'es content, t'as des lumières. T'es content. Voilà, tu vois? Voilà, comme ça. Voilà. Voilà. Comme ça. Voilà. C'est bon. Allez. Maintenant, c'est fini. La rigolade.
Stanley, go back. There's nothing good that can come from this.
Oh, il y a des petites choses partout. On peut pas s'accroupir. Ah si, je peux m'accroupir. Il y a des dessins. Je sais pas si on peut courir. Non, on peut pas courir, on peut pas sauter. Bon, allez. Finissons cette fin. J'ai envie de découvrir d'autres fins. C'est pas la plus amusante. Hein. Et pour dire... hein, c'est vraiment pas la plus amusante. J'ai l'impression qu'ils ont rajouté des sons d'ambiance par contre.
No. No, no, what are you doing? Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Je sais pas. Rien. Sans doute rien. Allez.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us. Do you actually want to stay alive? Or are you just teasing me?
Si j'ai envie de le taquiner en fait. Voilà. Vous voyez? Voilà, là on sent que par contre il est plus
I
lent.
wanted us to be happy here, Stanley. I really did. I wish I still thought that was possible.
Allez, on devient de plus en plus lent quand même. Hein. On est extrêmement lent là. On doit être dans un sale état, je pense. Allez. Allez, c'est bon. Je vais en finir. Je vais en finir avec ce monde de souffrance. Allez. Faudrait que je monte encore le son du jeu, je pense. On va monter encore un peu. 52, 54, 8. Ouais, ça doit être pas mal. Voilà.
Is it
Et
over?
voilà.
It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Donc pour le moment, on a fait deux fins. La fin, on reste fermé là, enfermé. La fin du suicide, quelque part, ou je sais plus si c'est la mort ou le suicide. Voilà. Ce sont des choses qui arrivent. Ce sont des choses qui arrivent. Est-ce qu'on peut faire autre chose avec l'ordinateur là? On peut pas, genre. Est-ce qu'on peut pas se mettre là et s'asseoir dans la chaise? Non. Rien faire. Ok.
All of his co-workers were
Alors.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Éteindre. Je regarde à chaque fois s'il y a des ordinateurs qu'on peut allumer ou éteindre. Ok, 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 ok. Là non, là non. Ok, j'éteins. Alors cette fois-ci. Cette fois-ci.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Non.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Je
Perhaps he
vais
wanted
faire
to
beaucoup de
stop
choix
by the
pour
employee lounge
contredire.
first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ah, je vais le contrarier beaucoup. Hein. Je vais beaucoup le contrarier, j'ai envie de le contrarier là.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Hello, el professeur. Bonsoir. Bonsoir.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Comment savait-il?
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
J'ai envie de tester l'autre porte.
Please, stop trying to make every decision. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Nah. Pas envie. Ah.
Now listen carefully, this is
Là,
important.
je vais le contrarier encore.
Stanley walked through the red door.
Nah, pas envie.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Nah, pas envie.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Ah, pas envie.
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
Voilà.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place.
Il est énervé.
Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing, because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Ouais, mais ouais, je trouve pas ça ouf, hein. Non, j'ai pas envie. Là, c'était bien ici, en fait. Oh, oh l'enfoiré. D'accord, toutes les...
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Ouais, ouais, c'est pas ouf, hein. Moi, je sais pas trop. Je peux pas m'abstenir de voter. Hmm. Hmm. Nah. Il est nul. le, le vilain râleur.
A one? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a one? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Stanley Parable Worldwide Leaderboard. How long does it take you to gain the correct order? Compete against other to why not ask the producer? Ouais, mais moi j'ai envie d'aller à gauche plutôt, moi.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Oui, c'était sympa, c'est vrai que c'est pas mal.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game,
Oh non,
the baby
horrible.
crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Ah, c'est horrible. Ah, c'est horrible. Ah, tant pis.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we
jouer autre chose.
Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Oh.
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Je crois que c'est le jeu, il y a un jeu comme ça. Firewatch, je crois. Je crois que c'est Firewatch. Ah, tiens, ça, je faisais ça, moi, quand j'étais gamin. Des dessins, comme ça. Firewatch, l'affiche du jeu, la vignette sur Steam, c'est une affiche jaune. J'ai jamais joué à ce jeu. Ah, je peux pas passer par là, très bien. Donc ça, c'était pas dans le jeu de base. Hein. Ça a été ajouté par la mise à jour, il me semble. Enfin, par ce standalone, hein, parce que c'est un standalone. Un nouveau jeu.
No, it can't be.
Quoi? Comment ça? Non, it can be.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
Oh non!
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close
Oh
call.
l'enfoiré!
You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Alors c'est quoi maintenant? Ah! Sérieux?
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what
Rocket
I had in
League.
mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed. Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the
Jamais
back,
joué
but
à
obviously
Rocket League.
there's no racetrack.
Jamais joué.
Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Waouh. On va l'emmener là-bas alors. Allez. Ah bah c'est bon. J'ai donné un coup de dent.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought.
Je
And I realize
m'amuse.
I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Wow. Ah, maintenant on peut se déplacer vite. Haha.
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're
Je peux
having a
sauter
good time,
là-dedans.
because guess what? Hold on. What are you doing?
Ah, c'était pas prévu? Ah.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you.
Ah, trop
How
bien.
will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Putain, merde. Oh, oh. Ah, c'est les premières versions, je suis sûr. C'est les premières versions sur le Garry's Mod. Alors attendez, par contre, le jeu est trop sombre. Désolé pour vous, je vais monter du coup. Merde. Est-ce que je peux augmenter le gamma? Ah merde, c'est pas assez lumineux là. Vidéo, synchronisation appliquée, résolution anti. J'ai l'impression que c'est trop sombre. J'aurais dû faire ça dès le début. Ouais, écoutez, je suis navré. J'essaierai de penser ça la prochaine fois, mais ouais. C'est dans le menu principal au tout début. Ouais. Bon. Ouais, c'est hyper sombre, hein, j'ai l'impression. Ah, c'est les premières versions de The Stanley Parable. Ah, c'est ça. Et donc là, si on va par là, on va peut-être retrouver le spawn. Il y a la lumière. On va ouvrir les portes. Voilà. Ah. Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire là? Rien? Putain, je suis bloqué? Mais quelle honte! Mais quelle honte! Ah,
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
ok. Ok. Nous voici ici. Alors du coup, là, j'ai envie juste de faire un truc. Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas moyen de recommencer le jeu? Ah non, quitter, paramètres, retour au menu. On va revenir en menu. Je vais juste essayer de voir si je peux, du coup, là, changer le gamma. Non, je peux pas faire ici. Ah merde, c'était vraiment dès le début, en fait. Bon, tant pis. Bon, tant pis, tant pis. J'espère du coup qu'il nous a pas enlevé des trucs, parce que le jeu fonctionne aussi avec des boucles comme ça. Avec des boucles, et parfois, on perd des choses. Enfin, une espèce de progression passive. Bref. Alors.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Je suis sûr qu'il y a des trucs à faire là. Il y a une époque, j'arrivais à grimper là. Mais il y avait des boîtes en carton. Il y avait un truc là, par exemple. Là, ils l'ont enlevé. Peut-être qu'il y a une partie où ils l'enlèvent pas. Que la caisse revient. Bon, bref. On verra bien. Bip bip. Alors, allez, on va lui obéir cette fois. Ah!
New content? What does that mean, new content?
Oh. Ah oui, c'est méta. Carrément.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley
J'aurais dû faire ça en
Parable
début.
Ultra Deluxe.
J'aurais dû faire ça en
Well,
premier.
this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
C'est le narrateur qui lui-même a envie de découvrir. Ça, c'est bizarre par contre.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
C'est trop bon. Le narrateur qui se comporte comme un afin gâté, en fait. J'adore. Il essaie de jouer comme nous. Jump circle.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Waouh! Putain, on peut sauter dedans, mais j'ai pas envie en fait. Ça m'emmerde.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
On peut sauter quoi. Waouh! C'est trop ouf. Mais moi j'ai pas envie de sauter autant de fois. Il y a des trucs là? Ok. Moi j'ai envie de partir avant d'avoir sauté 29 fois.
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about? No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always.
Ouais.
What do you say, friend?
Ouais, oui, c'est bien. Ah, le troll, du coup. Forcément. Ah, ah. Ah. Et du coup, là, si je m'enferme ici, ça change ou pas? Parce que là, du coup, on n'est pas dans le même endroit. Si je m'enferme là. J'ai envie de m'enfermer là, mais en même temps, je sais pas si c'est une bonne idée. J'ai trop envie de le faire. Ah, je peux pas. Je peux pas? Non, je peux pas. Voilà. Nouvelle version de The Stanley Parable, du coup.
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
Hmm. C'est quoi, là? Sunset. Et si je vais prendre l'escalier plutôt là? Ouais, je vais lui obéir. J'ai envie de lui obéir tout à coup. Coffee nuts.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a
Ouais.
look.
Trop bien. A gift.
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Oh, c'est trop mignon.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
« 2013. The Memory Zone Temp. Mind Control Facility. Il y a quoi ici? 20h13. Our First Kiss. My First Car, the release of the Stanley Parable in 2013. Zone Sweet Zone. Don't forget. National Geographic. Cargo Operational. Shape. Galactic Café. Quoi ça? C'est Independent Game Festival. Ils mettent tous leurs trucs là. The British Academy of Film. Il est pas. Ok. C'est Stanley Parable Alpha Test. Bye, because it happened. Ah, la démo aussi. La démo est bien aussi. Hein. La démo est vraiment différente du jeu complet. Seem to get this achievement. Unachievable. Go outside. Don't play for 5 years. suis sûr que je l'ai d'ailleurs ça. Ah non, peut-être pas, non, c'est chaud de l'avoir quand même. J'y ai pas joué pendant longtemps, mais pas assez longtemps. Game Innovation. Depuis Game. Sorry. Ok. Qu'est-ce qu'on a ici? C'est quoi ici? In loving memory, little Stanley.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Non. Oh là là, ça va être la fin où il va devenir fou, je pense. Ça, c'est une autre fin où il va devenir complètement timbré. J'ai l'impression. Bushy, Design Museum, Design of the Year. Il y a des dossiers partout. Ok. Et je peux pas sortir d'ailleurs? Non, je peux pas sortir. Memory Zone Maintenance. Je peux pas ouvrir ça? Dommage. Il y a écrit quoi ici? Knowing your city. J'arrive pas à voir. On peut pas zoomer plus, alors du coup je suis un peu... On a envie de lire tous les trucs qui sont par terre. Ok. Ah, nostalgie. Ça, c'est cette fin-là, c'est une de mes préférées, celle-là. Ah, et les scènes de Minecraft. Ok. I remember. Remember. Person of the Year. Waouh. C'est vrai que je me demande aussi comment ils ont fait pour le créer, le jeu. No off. Ok. Il a fait ça sur un Mac. Bon, Scott. Pour ouvrir la porte.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
D'accord. Allez, barrons-nous. Mais comment je fais pour... Oh non! Oh non, me dites pas que... Non. Non. Me faites pas ce coup-là quand même. Ça, ce serait dégueulasse.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over
Me dites pas
again.
que... Me dites pas que le fait de ne pas avoir sauté 29 fois tout à l'heure fait que j'ai pas le saut et du coup que je peux pas accéder à ça.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Wow.
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down
Steam
here.
review.
Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Mais oui. Bah oui, oui. Oh bah oui. Ah. Là, il est trucs.
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Quelle histoire, mais quelle histoire, mon pauvre Stanley. Là, on peut rien faire. Ok. On va se contenter d'avancer. Contentons-nous d'avancer. Ah, attendez, on peut entrer là-dedans? Non, on peut pas.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. But dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure, like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Déception. Je peux pas grimper là? Non. Toujours à faire des bruits de clavier en faisant action ou clic. Clic gauche ou action. Ouais.
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245.
that the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until too.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are or... Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times. And there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here. And more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. I can't control anything in this room, Stanley. I can't touch it. And I have to believe, I have to know that sooner or later, no matter how much I plead with you, you're going to press the button again. Why would you? I've been thinking, and I don't know what I can do to convince you otherwise. Oh my God. And it's all because of those reviews that I couldn't get out of my head. I just couldn't ignore the negative feedback. Why was it so important for me to fix the problem? Why did Cookie 9's opinion matter so much to me? I've never even met Cookie 9. I have no idea who they are. What would it ever really matter? But here I am. I'm fixating on every tiny negative thing that anyone ever says about me. The merest mention of one of my imperfections, and I become as impetulant as a child. Wild and impulsive. I can't help myself. I can't stop myself from lashing out with a vengeful fury to alter and to change and to break anything unbroken, if only it pleases this one person who made a single negative comment. What does such an impulse serve? For whose benefit is this? Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks.
À la limite, je regrette.
Sitting here all that time, just sitting here, not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps, yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time. But if I... Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of...
Ah merde. Plus rien du tout? Il est mort. Ah, c'est sinistre. C'est quoi ce bruit? Il y a un bruit de tôle. C'est horrible ce truc.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others.
Et là, il n'y a rien du tout. Il n'y a rien du tout. Il y a des gouttes qui tombent de temps en temps. Ch'touille, ch'touille, ch'touille.
The end is never the end, 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 is never.
Quel enfer! Oh mais il y a vraiment de l'eau qui tombe en fait ça. Je vais finir inondé. Oh là là. C'est sinistre. Waouh! On est enfermé. Waouh. Le ventilateur il a arrêté de faire du bruit là maintenant. Ah, tout est éteint forcément. Putain. Jusqu'à ce que mort s'en suive. Pas trop bien. Ah merde. On revient en arrière j'ai l'impression. Quoi? C'est la guerre ou c'est l'hiver? C'est marrant que le jeu se transforme en totalement... Ah ouais, ok. Est-ce on va être dans l'horreur maintenant? On n'est pas loin de l'horreur. Des cris ou des trucs qui sifflent. C'est super sombre par contre. Ok. Ouah! Ah, c'est fini? Ça y est. Oh là là. Trop bien. On dirait naissance. Ah, naissance aussi, hein, c'est un jeu que je vous invite à faire. C'est tout? Ok. D'accord. Logique. Terriblement logique.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
C'est bizarre ces bruits par contre. Comme s'il faisait froid à l'extérieur, je sais pas, comme s'il y avait du vent ou je sais pas quoi.
Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No.
C'est vrai qu'on pourrait le faire. Hein.
I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants.
Juste pour le plaisir.
I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Juste pour le plaisir.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Oh non, c'est bon. J'ai une vie aussi. Oh. Ah, input received. Allez, c'est parti. Donc le new content c'est là, mais j'ai envie de... Ah. Est-ce qu'on retourne sur new content? Ouais, peut-être.
Oh, good. You notice my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Je sais, le problème c'est que je sais plus si dans ce nouveau contenu, je sais plus si on peut faire plusieurs choses. Oui, on peut faire plusieurs choses, je crois. On va essayer. Ce que je me demande surtout, c'est dans les anciennes choses, est-ce qu'on a des nouvelles choses? Est-ce que les anciennes choses sont modifiées?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh!
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Quoi qu'il y a écrit là? Testing 2 printers at the same time. Moi je vais passer par là, moi. Je peux pas allumer ça? Ok.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Des nouveaux studios hyper modernes. Waouh. 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 Quoi, il y a écrit quoi là? Meeting at 2 p.m. New content is out. New content PT2 is in. Old best. They're back. 2 doors. Okay.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them.
Mais oui.
It'll all work itself out.
Mais
Game
évidemment.
development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Mais évidemment. Évidemment, évidemment. C'est quels Good. Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Batman Arkham Asylum 2, Asylum 2. Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2. Ah oui. This way to the show floor. Moi je vais aller à gauche, non? New features. New content. Le contenu, le contenu. Voilà, on a tellement l'impression de se comporter comme un enfant gâté quand tu joues à ce jeu. Le jeu le sait, en plus. Waouh.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Reassurance bucket. Rassurez-le, rassurez-le. The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Uh-huh. The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. Il va dire Archiboulette?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself,
Que veulent vraiment les joueurs?
what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be
Être reconnu, accepté individuellement en tant
recognized and
qu'individu.
validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful?
Ouais, ce serait fou. Ce serait ouf. J'adorerais. Tout mon argent pour entendre mon nom. Mon pseudo.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really Jim? Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine... Jim. All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Non, j'ai plus envie. Bon, d'accord, tu veux être humilié, alors sois humilié.
Jim. See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says. But no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away. Jim.
Non, elle veut pas.
Jim.
Mais Ah, il est en dessous, je suis sûr. On peut plus appuyer sur les boutons. Oh, c'est nul. Bouh. Ah, je voulais qu'on appelle, qu'on m'appelle, quoi. Oh là là, c'est trop nul, hein. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on a
Maybe
comme
I'll
autre?
only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2.
Genre.
They would appreciate what I've created here.
Enjoy the new features. Epilogue.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Chérie, au bout de... Enfin, voilà. Hein. Ah, voilà. Collectible. Free new plus easy achievement. I can't believe it's simple. I can't believe it's that simple. Ça c'est quoi? Trou sans fond, succès gratuit. Paramètre champion du monde. Merchandising. Ouais. Oh non, mais moi je veux être champion du monde, ouais. Serge Binamour. Champion du monde. J'ai pas envie d'aller là-bas. Nah. Ah, that's new. Ah ouais non, ça rien de nouveau. You heard Jim in the game. Ah, ah c'est drôle. Ah l'enfoiré. Il a renommé le truc You heard Jim in the game. Quel enfoiré. D'accord. Pas con, hein. That Jim. Alors, qu'est-ce qu'on a d'autre? Taux de réconfort. Alors ça c'est quoi ici? The end is never the end. This t-shirt is the best new feature. Il y a un flash code, attendez, c'est sûr. C'est sûr qu'il y a moyen de faire un truc avec le flash code. Je vais photographier le flash code pour savoir ce que ça fait. Attendez, on va voir. Est-ce que ça marche? Est-ce que ça marche? The Stanley Parable 2. Ouvrir dans le navigateur. C'est quoi? C'est le flash code du site en fait. D'accord. Tout simplement. Tout simplement. Qu'est-ce que vous voulez de plus? Vous attendiez un truc incroyable? Mais oui. Alors, le saut du réconfort. Moi, ça me plaît bien ça.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Pas le reposer là. C'est marrant les petites tasses qui sont là partout. Hein. Ok, bon. J'ai un seau avec moi maintenant.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Please no screenshots. Voilà.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Est-ce qu'il faut prendre des screenshots de tout peut-être pour... Ah, je prends un screenshot de ça. De ça. Ok. Get well someday, happy... Ah. Get well someday.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
D'accord. Oh, il en a mis partout.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Waouh. On est revenu ici? Oh, the jump circle.
You know what, Stanley? I actually think the jump circle was a pretty good idea. I'd like to hang on to that for the sequel.
Je veux sauter jusqu'à plus soif. Sauter, 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 sauter. Oh, c'est horrible. Je peux plus sauter. Putain. Jeu de merde. Free new plus easy achievement. Là, on a tout fait, on a tout fait. Là, il y a ça aussi. New feature, new content, new idea. The red is new orange. Red is a new orange. Please new screenshot. Please no screenshot. Mais moi j'ai envie de screenshot au contraire. The baby. C'est marrant ça. A whole new office. C'est quoi ici? Many improvements. Est-ce que ce jeu serait pas un gros troll? Peut-être. Et qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire avec la tasse? Ah oui, la zone du suicide là. On a fait ça tout à l'heure. Alors, voyons voir. On peut pas ouvrir? Non, on peut pas ouvrir. Qu'est-ce qu'on a ici? Jump circle, this map. Achievement, the button that says the name of the players that is merged. Setting world champions. The parable resurrends bucket. Pilote. You are here. 5. This map. Sorti. Infinite All. Oh, ça j'ai envie de ça j'ai envie de tester le trou infini. Je peux pas poser mon seau là. That's new. Oh bah si c'est nouveau alors.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Incroyable. Oh la tristesse. C'est tout. Collect them all. Can you find them? Can You find them, can you find?
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Petite musique. Une petite musique. La petite musique. La petite musique. Get here. New achievement. Moi je veux d'abord, je veux sauter dans le trou, moi. Je veux sauter dans le trou. C'est quoi, hein? Wow. Only like infinity. Space like infinity. Time like infinity. Opening frame. Running area depth. Infinity. Infinity. Wow. C'est le bordel. Wow. It just keeps going.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
The old mole. How deep can we dig? Jusqu'à où pouvons-nous creuser? J'ai un seau. Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait avec mon seau, moi? Je vais quand même pas sauter avec un seau. Ça n'a pas de sens. Suis-je seau? Ça fait peur en plus. Franchement, je trouve ça un peu anxiogène quand même. Hein. Mais en même temps.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Ah mais moi je veux descendre plus. On peut pas casser le... On peut pas casser le fond. Every pause button is a Roman numeral 2. Just two of us. Just two of... Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres choses écrites? Meeting at 2 p.m. Ça c'est les management. Just the two of us. Allez.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you. Oh, for heaven. You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter
merde,
to
c'est
you
vrai,
this
ouais.
time?
Il est plus
I
petit,
couldn't
là.
help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about, and I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again. Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Mais quelle honte. Ah. Il se passe quelque chose? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Ah! Trop bien! Wouhou! Le fun arrive! On va descendre de plus en plus vite, je suis sûr. C'est trop bien! N'importe quoi.
My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up the space of mine. peace of mind. My head's stronger. Now you're no longer using up this space of mind. My head's strong.
C'est un simulateur de DJ quoi.
Stanley? 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 Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Non mais attendez moi. Non mais je veux partir en fait hein. Ah, ça va recommencer.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new
Nous y voilà. Alors, le saut du réconfort, le truc des... de ça du coup, ça on l'a fait je crois, on l'a fait du coup et on a terminé. Je sais plus. Ah oui, ça nous mettait ici. Ensuite il y avait quoi? Il y avait le trou infini. Est-ce que je peux sauter à nouveau dedans moi? J'aimerais bien juste savoir si ça marche encore. Oh non! Ah, on peut plus? Oh la honte! Bon, qu'est-ce qu'il nous reste? Il nous reste ça là-bas. Il y a des trucs là-haut aussi, là, on va peut-être grimper ou machin? Je sais pas. Alors ça c'est quoi? Les free new easy achievement. Achievement. Oh yeah. Free achievement. Get you right now. Pull the lever. Receive your new achievement. No more steps. It just works. Get you right now.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Waouh, tout ça pour ça.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Mais si ça va marcher, j'en suis sûr là. Faut juste forcer un peu. Allez quoi, ça doit marcher. Non? Oh mais quelle honte. Peut-être qu'en appuyant un peu plus fort. Non? Non. Hein. Oh c'est nul. Nul, 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 nul. Je m'attendais à tellement mieux. Comme joueur, je me sens déçu en tant que joueur.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Ah, il est quelle heure? 19h56, merde. Oh là là, on a passé tellement de temps. Déjà? Quoi, il est 1h46? Enfin, 1h46. Ça fait 1h46 plutôt. Les collectables. Je vais devoir m'arrêter et du coup on n'a même pas terminé le jeu. On n'a même pas terminé tout ce qu'il propose. On a fait ça, on a fait ça, on a fait ça. La sortie non? Je crois qu'on a tout fait en fait. Le bouton qui dit gym. Le saut du réconfort. Des trucs nouveaux, patati, patata, voilà. C'est super, youpi, youpi tralala. Youpi tralala. Bon bah on se barre là. Allez c'est bon. Allez salut.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Bah oui. No screenshot. Dès que je vois ça, j'ai envie
So,
de...
Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go, version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game.
Oui.
Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Oh yeah. Le vrai jeu, ça y est. Putain. Eh bien écoutez, nous allons nous arrêter ici pour le moment. Et la suite, où nous découvrirons selon ce que l'on entend. Ah, c'est trop marrant cette vue. On a envie de tout voir. Ah, ça y est, on voit tout. Ah, ça c'est fou la gerbe. Bref, ça me donne envie d'appuyer sur commencer le jeu, mais on va pas le faire tout de suite. C'est tellement méta, ça me plaît. Beaucoup, beaucoup, beaucoup. Beaucoup de trolls, beaucoup d'humour, beaucoup de remises en question. Ça parle du fait de ce que c'est qu'une suite, de ce que c'est que l'espoir de mettre la barre trop haute. On verra ça à la suite. Bien assez tôt. Ce qui est marrant d'ailleurs, c'est qu'on n'est pas vraiment dans le menu. Je sais pas très bien si on a le menu. Si on fait retour au menu, retour au bureau. Si je fais retour au bureau. Ouf, oh dur, dur. Allez, on va s'arrêter ici du coup. C'était bien beau, mais on va continuer ça bien assez tôt, comme je disais tout à l'heure. Donc, la suite au prochain épisode.